College. It's the place everyone said they wanted to be, and then you get there and you hate it. Being in college has made me painfully aware of just how expensive things really are. Between tuition and housing and food and now a new car payment, I have to be a lot more conscious about where my money goes. And I don't have a ton of money in this stage of my life. And no, it's not because I'm a Gen Zer who drinks matcha lattes and drinks coffee all the time. I just am genuinely in a place of life where I don't have a lot of expendable income. So how the heck am I supposed to be a watch enthusiast when I can barely afford a Happy Meal? So that got me to thinking. I started researching different thrift stores near my house and created a list of places that I could go visit with my girlfriend. And today I'm going to share my experience thrifting as well as the watches that I picked up for my trip. I went to a couple of stores that were busts. They didn't have much jewelry or watches, but they did have some funny items. And I'll throw up some pictures of what we saw, but we saw a lot of these weird, creepy sculptures. And there was this creepy fox that I almost bought for my brother's birthday. But eventually, we did find the store. And that's the store that had these watches. Alrighty, now onto the watches themselves. So we'll start from left to right. This is the Pulsar that I picked up. You can see here that it has this bridged, almost plank-like dial. It also has gold handset with very sharp Dauphine style hands, and then you have the indices are gold as well. And I'll throw up the dimensions off to the side here. But this watch is the Pulsar V250 5310. Its dimensions are, it's got a width or diameter of 23 millimeters. It has a lug-to-lug of 35, but really wearing experience, it wears closer to 39 millimeters because it extends with the bracelet like that. It has a thickness of 6 millimeters, if it'll focus here. And the movement is the Pulsar V250 quartz movement. I bought this watch for $15, and online, according to sources, its approximate market value is $25 to $40. And then another cool little bit about this watch is the case back here. So it has this engraving, and it looks like it was given to somebody for 15 years of service. Companies used to give watches to employees who were either very loyal or did very good. They don't do that anymore, but I just think it's cool that somebody worked this hard and was able to earn this watch. Again, here's that dial. And the bracelet is phenomenal. I wasn't expecting much for $15, but it wears very well. And I'll zoom out here and show you a little wrist shot. So there it is on my, I would say 5.5 to 5.75 inch wrist. It doesn't overhang at all. And this watch is interesting because it feels less like a watch and more of a bracelet. But it is very comfortable. There's the underside of the clasp. But yeah, very happy with this purchase. Alrighty, and skipping around a little bit, we have this watch right here. It's a Seiko Quartz V701-6J 69. And this watch is really, really interesting. The case is super thin, and it comes on this beads of rice bracelet, which I've owned vintage like Seiko quartz, and stuff like that, but none that were like, I don't know, like this, I guess, charming. You can see the bracelet has a little bit of stretch, but not a ton. And then the real showstopper is this dial. I'm not sure if you can see it in this video, but it has this almost like iced, snowflakey, thatched dial. And it's on the center and the peripheral. And then it has these like really thin hands with blue tips at the end. And then the Roman numerals are also blue. And they're accompanied by just regular numbers surrounding where that indices would be. But as for the dimensions of this watch, I'll throw it up here again. It's got a diameter of 34 millimeters, a lug-to-lug of 37, and it wears very true to that because the bracelet goes straight down. It's got a thickness of 6.5 millimeters, and it's using the Seiko V701 quartz movement. And this watch I got for $40, and it's online approximate value, you know, with the bracelet, without much wear. They're going for around $130 to $150. So again, very happy with this purchase. I think this watch is just stunning. My brother said it looked like a women's watch, and it technically was advertised as one. It sold at the thrift store. It said women's watch, but I'll put it on wrist and show you guys how it wears. Alrighty, so this is the watch on wrist. Again, I don't think this is really a women's watch. I mean, they used to sell vintage Tudors at 34 millimeters, and those were men's watches. There's the bracelet, and this bracelet really is just, like, stunning. Alrighty, saving the best for last, we have this Fendi tank style watch. So this watch is very interesting. It's got a very glossy dial, like a white cream dial, and then it's also got these very glossy, like hour indices, and it is very, very tiny. I compared this to reference photos online, and I believe this is genuine. It's got the Fendi on the side, on the case back, you can see it's got the logo, it says sapphire crystal, and then up here, it says GP10, which makes me think maybe it's gold-plated or something like that. But the dimensions for this watch, I'll put off to the side. 22 millimeter width. It's got a 30 millimeter lug-to-lug and a 7 millimeter thickness. And I purchased this watch for $30, and online the prices vary significantly. I'm gonna say the approximate market value is around $250 to $350, but I've seen these on eBay for like $180, on Etsy for like $380, so this is definitely the most interesting of the three watches because it's like middle of the pack in terms of what I paid for it, but then definitely the most expensive of the three. online and secondhand. But there's the side again, the case back, original Fendi strap with the Fendi buckle, and I'll show you what it looks like on wrist really quick. So there it is on wrist. Let's zoom out a little bit. And it wears very compact. Again, my wrist is very small, and I feel like my wrist can just barely pull this off. I know tank watches are meant to be worn smaller, but still, very, very petite. Alrighty, so I guess my concluding thoughts are that I am definitely extremely happy with my purchases, and I think that thrifting in general offers a lot of potential upsides, especially for watch collecting. I'll just list 3 pros and 3 cons. So the first pro is that thrifting is very accessible. I mean, you can just walk in there and not buy anything and have a good time looking at silly things other people had with friends or like a loved one and stuff like that. The second pro is that like thrifting and stuff like this with watches and luxury goods, you can support charity as well as small businesses. I know this one, the thrift store I went to, supports like Christians on missionary trips and buying supplies for underprivileged people. So being able to support charity while also recycling goods is something that I think is a pro. And then 3, thrifting is free or cheap, and it's a good way to spend quality time with people. I had a great time like laughing and joking around with my girlfriend in the store. I've had good times with my friends before where we find like silly t-shirts and see who can get the craziest looking one, or who can get the strangest find. So those are my 3 pros. While thrifting has its pros, I think there's also a few cons that I should talk about in this video. The first con is that things aren't perfect when you go thrifting. These watches specifically were like pretty dirty. They were gross, they were hard to clean, and thankfully they all had fresh batteries in them. But I spent a lot of time just like scraping off dirt and trying to clean it with a toothbrush, and I'm sure a lot of that could have been solved using like an ultrasonic cleanser or a cleaner, but I didn't want to spend the money to buy one. Like the whole point is that this is cheap. So that's my first con. My second is you have to be careful about fake watches. Fake watches are everywhere. Dupes, clones, homages, and you have to kind of know what you're looking for when you're buying watches, especially if you're considering reselling them. There's tons of fake Seikos. Apparently there's fake Fendis. I learned that on Reddit. But you have to be very careful about what you buy and just go with the expectation that if you do buy it, it probably is fake, especially if it has like a recognizable name on it. The third con is that you never know what you'll get. So I went to a store that is from a more affluent area, and the guy who owns the store replaces all the quartz batteries before he puts them on the shelf. So I knew going into this that these watches were going to be a little better quality, right? They were going to work, and if they didn't, he said, here's the receipt, you can come back and we'll take care of it for you. So you never know what you'll get, and I guess that's a good and a bad thing, right? it could turn out for the worse, or it could turn out for the better, like with this Fendi watch. It's kind of a gamble. So those are the 3 cons that I would say kind of go with thrifting. Overall though, in my experience, I had a lot of fun thrifting, and I think it helped change my perspective on watch collecting. You don't have to stop loving watches just because you're on a student budget. Thrifting can make the hobby way more accessible while also giving old watches a second chance. Finally, I was also able to gift a watch to my sister. She's been interested in watches because of me, and she's been eyeing tank-style watches for a while. And thrifting allowed me to buy her something that is a shared interest between us, without me having to break the bank and spend hundreds of dollars. And this ultimately brings me to something that I've been thinking about lately. Alrighty, so I've been praying and thinking about this verse lately, which says, it's from 1 Peter 4, "As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace." And I think that ultimately, like, life is about giving and not just receiving. And I have definitely been blessed with a lot. I might be a broke college student, but I am definitely grateful for everything that I get to have and enjoy, right? Such as a roof over my head, for food, for money that I am able to spend on things that I enjoy. Not everybody gets to say that. And being able to give my sister into a watch and to give my money to a charity, right? It reminds me that I should focus less on what I can take or buy or consume and more on how I can serve others and support people and ultimately love them with what I do have. This has been Sunny and Phila. Thank you so much if you stayed to the end of this video. I really appreciate all of the support I've been getting about watches and the videos. If you do like the video, and you want to check out some other videos, I do have a couple watch videos posted. And if you like this video specifically, feel free to like the video and consider subscribing if you want more of these thoughtful kind of watch commentaries or reviews. So, thank you.